Greetings and blessings to all y'all out there. I am your humble servant and humble orator and humble person here, and I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many, many blessings out there in the universe. And one of them is knowledge. And I'm your humble host, Mr. David Null. I figured it out. Also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. And I hope that you all have had a safe and relaxing or whatever um, Labor Day. Hey, Chloe. Yeah, spirits were kind of beating me up a little bit and said, you ought to get on tonight. And I was like, yeah, well, okie doke. So I've got my coffee over there that I just filled up. I'm doing fair to middling. I've had much worser days. And today was the day that some days you just have to make yourself do stuff, which you should do. you know, in the retired situation, it's easy just to skip over and go, well. And then, at least for me, I think, yeah, but there's stuff that you ought to do. Hey, Scotty boy. And I'm like, yeah, but there's stuff that I'd like to do, you know. And of course, I'm still fighting pain with the lower back thing. But I am, I have to work it out, you know. I can't sit still. But there are some days, like yesterday, I could only just get it around a little bit. Today, I actually mowed a little yard. I used a weed eater for a little bit. I picked up sticks out in the yard and actually used them in the fire and cooked a T-bone steak on the grill. And Duggar loved that bone, let me tell you. Um, and it was good. My oh my, it was good. And so I know y'all don't mind, but I got to take my. Yeah, I don't get them very often, and I don't have any teeth, so I had to, cut it up into small pieces and gum the hell out of it. But boy, howdy, all them juices, and I used some Cajun seasoning on one side and put that on the upside of the steak and threw it on the grill there. And then when I flipped it over, then I put Worcestershire sauce on the upside, and then let it cook there for about 2 or 3 minutes. And then I flipped it back over on that other side, and oh man, sweet doggies, it sure does taste good. Gum the hell out of it, let me tell you. I haven't cooked out since like February, January or February, and this is already September. And between back surgery and heart attacks and crap, I just ain't felt like going outside. And actually, I think I did cook out one time in between somewhere in there, um, but not like I oughta. Every 2 or 3 weeks, it's easy. I got the grill back there. I got a lot of sticks in the yard, and I'm not a big meat eater per se, but to load up the grill and throw them stuffs on and cook them all at the same time, kind of thing. Then you can go to the refrigerator and snack on them. Everything's already cooked, and it's cooked over a charcoal wood fire that's smoky. got that smoky flavor on it. Oh, yum, yum, you know? And so, let's see. I got two other pills I got to take. Hang on. Did y'all have a fair to middling weekend? I made a big pot of beans in my slow. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. That's coming up. Yep. Oh, yeah, Duggar loved that bone. I don't have to have a T-bone steak, you know, but they had one down there. Actually, they had two, and and the price was right, and they looked good, from my local um, meat place there in Coolidge, and I've always had good results with the meat from there, and I've been wanting to cook a steak out on the grill for the longest time, and so I mustered up the courage and the strength and did it today. And boy, am I glad. Yum yum. And I got stuff to eat tomorrow too, because it's already cooked kind of thing. Hey Michelle, how's Nate? He was on my mind the last couple of days, and don't know, but just he was on my mind. As is sometimes, but for some reason it was like, okay. And we'll have fun, fun, fun till the daddy took the T-bird away. It was a shame to hear about Jimmy Buffett. Um, he had a plantation or something here in South Georgia, and was a frequent visitor to South Georgia, North Florida, Tallahassee area. And I've talked about this before. It's been quite a few years ago, about 15, that he used to frequent a particular restaurant in Thomasville. Now, he may still have frequented a restaurant in Thomasville, as a lot of people from Tallahassee are off to do, but wrote a lot of songs. Heading to San Francisco on a Labor Day weekend show. But anyway, hey, Mark the Ark, it's Hawkeye time. Yeah, I was, not really looking for a topic, but was sort of looking for a topic. Okay, thank you. I almost missed your answer there, Michelle. I'm glad he's doing well. I didn't think anything bad, but he just crossed my mind for whatever reason. I was like, maybe he needs an extra prayer, you know. But so anyway, there was been watching some ancient aliens and stuff, and listening to some programs, and trying to catch up with some things, and see if there's anything new out there. Yep, Michelle, I agree. And so it was recently. It's all about, there were, for some reason, and what I was listening to, there's no coinkydinkies in this world. So the subject kept coming up that it was, there's a frequencies out there, and there are this, and and then my folks upstairs said, yes, knowledge is a frequency. And I was like, what? Yeah, knowledge is a frequency. How can knowledge be a frequency? Let's, you know, but it is. Okay, well, y'all explain it to me then. How come knowledge is a frequency, and why in the hell does it matter? Well, it was like, well, on the shaman's journey, You have to learn the frequencies of the universe. There are frequencies within the earth, there are frequencies within rocks and plants and things. And that Hawkeye, yeah, everything on this planet has a frequency. Well, okay, I'm I'm with you so far there, but how can knowledge have a frequency? Well, because there are ancient things that made a pot of beans today too. Oh yeah, I need to do that. I got a crock pot. It's stuck down underneath the cabinet and back in the back, but I need to get that puppy out and make. But I got plenty of dried beans and stuff, and I might even have some smoked ham hock up in the freezer. Yeah, he's arguing with something that's outside tonight. Um, it'll be so calm, and then all of a sudden he'll bark like they're scared the spit out of me. Scared the spit out of me, I swear. But anyway, so frequencies of knowledge and like, well, wait a minute. How can knowledge in and of itself have a frequency? Well, wait a minute. The person who wrote it in a book, for example, wrote it with a particular frequency in mind. Well, what the hell are you talking about? But what do you mean there's a frequency with how they wrote it? But having written things before, I can understand that you write something, and at the time that you write it, it's the intent that you have when you wrote it down. And that, my friends, is the frequency because it's your frequency. So it's like, really? Yep. So the frequency of knowledge is that which from the teacher it comes. And you go, wait a minute, would you say that again? Yeah. So the teacher, the there he goes, "Arr." The teacher and the frequency of the teacher, the spoken word and how it's presented is the frequency of the knowledge. Because the knowledge inside the teacher, do you want to go get it? Well, y'all hold that thought. The frequency of the teacher, he's going to, if I don't let him out, he's going to hold that thought. Come on, go outside and go chase him. I don't know what it is, but go get him. There are some days when I think I'm improving, like that hurt going across there to let him out and back, but it didn't hurt as bad as it has on other days. Yesterday, it had took me three times as long to get there back. But I do seem to have improvement on some days. So my back thingy has been a lesson, let me tell you. But I do feel like there is improvement. It's just taken a lot longer. But anyway, going back to the frequency of learning. So our clothes carry our frequency. So when you donate your clothes or give them away, you're giving your frequency with them. You're giving high vibes to your friends, helping them, and they don't even know it. Yep, I watched your unboxing visit. Forgot to leave a comment. So, but anyway, I've had some teachers that I just can't learn from. I mean, no matter how they teach it, it just doesn't get through. And then I've had teachers when I went back to school and graduated in 89 with my VOTEC, there were some teachers that could say, well, here you go, Dave. It's like this. And they show you the problem. And I go, holy crap. And whatever that frequency is with the teacher, it's like ding, the answer and how it's laid out and how they speak to you. And I'm thinking in particular, I'm trying to think of her name. She was a lovely lady who taught math at Thomas Tech. It's now Thomas College something, and anyway, but I still graduated from there. And so there were certain things that I was like, I just don't understand how this goes together. And so we had math problems, but we had to be able to use those math problems to solve mechanical issues like certain angles when you're grinding and what the sine and the cosine is of something so that when you grind it over a certain length, they all get the same amount taken off of them because I was a broach grinder. And so there were formulas that you had to learn and sometimes they just didn't make no sense whatsoever. And you had to pass the test, right? So it's like, and I could go up to her, Miss whatever her name was, and say, this just isn't making sense to me. I'm looking at this, and when I got this, and she goes, "Oh, but Mr. Dave, because when I was doing puppets and stuff back then and doing theater, a lot of folks just knew me as Mr. Dave. So she's Mr. Dave. You know, you have to remember that this factor, this is, you have to consider what your base is." And I went, oh, well, the length is not the tool, it's the length of the base of the, oh. So my mistake was, you know, in thinking that the length of the tool, which is 12 inches, and the length of what it's sitting on is 10 inches. So that those differences, and you were trying to set up the angle on the 10 inches, not the 12. But anyway, so with that said, you was like, well, wait a minute. So other people was, well, don't you get it? It's on a mag level. You blah 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 blah. And you should know better by now, Dave. And blah, well, wait a minute. So I'd go to her and go, I have this issue with, and she'd say, but this is where your problem is. Oh, crap. So her calmness and her assuredness that she could fix the problem because she was the mathematician. And all I had to do was present the mechanics of the problem, and she figured it out after, with it. And so, delightful lady, learned a lot. I passed my math was like an A minus or something, and understood it after I left. You know what I mean? I could remember it later on, and use it when necessary. So sine and cosine and the length of the it's all geometry, and so but the frequency of how she taught it, her voice, her mannerisms, how she presented it. And there was a lot of us dummies that went to her class, and we all passed because of the how she taught the geometry or the math that was being, whatever it was, whatever class you were in, and what was required. For welding, it was different than us for, in mechanical drafting and so forth. So, but anyway, so the same thing is true when it comes to learning from the universe. if the lessons that you're learning are being or the teacher is screaming at you, like a drill sergeant. Now I've not been in the military, but I've relatives who have been, and I've seen the movies and seen the folks and knew a drill sergeant. And that attitude, that high pitch, oh, you will learn this, you pig, you're nothing but scum. And so how much do you really learn when somebody's screaming at you? Or what do you learn when someone is screaming at you? Because that's the frequency, the oscillation. What do you mean by the oscillation? Well, sound oscillates. It goes up and down. If you look at it on one of those little machines, which is like an oscilloscope, you can watch it go up and down, and you can change the pitch, and it's the oscillation. So what's oscillation got to do with the frequency? Well, the frequency, it oscillates at a particular speed. So if I slow down my speaking voice, then the oscillation is there. It's farther between the humps. All right, and so vibration. Every teacher that puts their heart into what they teach, they will always be a good one that can reach others. Yep, but but there have been some screamers, teachers who scream things. And I've had a few over the years of trying to learn stuff, you know. I had a machinist, he was oh my God, he knew his shit. But everything was like this, and how come you can't pay attention? And it was like once I realized that his high-pitched voice and grumpiness was just his way of doing it. He ran a machine shop, and man, he was good. That one of the it was later on in life, but one of my first, sure enough, teachers of machining and of tooling. And so Pappy Warburg, he'd been dead for quite a few years now. Business is gone, you'd never know. But we made all kinds of stuff. But in his teaching method, it was screaming. But now his son was just the opposite, was very calm. So after Pappy got onto me about stuff and how you should do it like this and blah, 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 Dave Warburg would come along and go, now what Pappy meant by that was blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And, oh, so after a while, I was able to read Pappy. About 8 months, 9 months into working for him, I was like, you could kind of tell his mood, and if you had done something wrong, you knew you was fixing, to get your ass chewed for something. Well, then I had to show him over that same length of time that I was really trying. I really wanted to learn. So, and that calmed Pappy down. So the frequency was different. And then he started explaining things to me. I'm like, well, Pappy, um, that boss man, you've been doing this for 40 years, and I've only been doing this for 8 months. But I'm trying, and I want to try. I want to learn. I want to learn what you know, because you know a lot of stuff. So his frequency changed, the oscillation changed, how it hit my ear was different, how I learned picked up. And I started, understanding things better on a higher level, with machining things and stuff. And by doing so, he allowed me to do more complex stuff and instead of just drilling a hole in something. And um, so the oscillation of his voice, which was very high pitched and And then when it changed, I was able to learn more and easier from this person because he changed his tone, his frequency, the oscillation, and then the knowledge was easier to pick up on my part. So the oscillation goes two ways. It just isn't the teacher, but it's also the person who's picking up the information. So there are some folks who are just dumb as a box of rocks, and no matter hey that way, sometimes you have to raise up your voice to be heard. Yep, and I'm fixing to get to that right now. There are some people who are dumb as a box of rocks, and the only way you can reach them is to scream in their ear, which is unfortunate. And it's like, wait a minute, I would much rather just, can we talk here? Can I get a piece of paper and write this down? Can we talk here? So later on, when I was working for Prestolite and I was the person teaching, I had to make sure that I remembered those things. So when I got up in front of all these operators and wanted to teach them a new thing, I had to look at the people, the operators, and each one of them learned in a particular way. And there was this one particular black gentleman who just, well, he wouldn't listen to no freaking body. I mean, it didn't matter who it was, he didn't listen. And he was all the time screwing up. And then his machine was always down. And he was always slower than the other operators in repairing his machine. And his bosses they wouldn't fire him. They wouldn't, but oh God, 3 out of 5 days out of the week, his machine would be down for dumb shit. And his had some of the best machines that didn't require a lot of upkeep, and he still tore them up. But anyway, so there were times when I just screamed at, well, it was noisy in the plant for one thing, but I just had to scream at him, going, "What the fuck is wrong with you, you dumb shit? Why did you do that? You should know better. You've been an operator for 5 years. No, you don't put a wrench in there when it's going up and down." "Well, I don't know. I wanted you turn the machine off, you dummy." And he wrecked like, $500 worth of tooling because he wanted to, he wouldn't turn the machine off long enough to unjam something. So he shoved a screwdriver up in there and, oh my God, you know. So, but in teaching things, so having been on the receiving end of teaching and having been the teacher in many instances, especially, within the plant, teaching them how to do different procedures. And also, as a director, you can scream at your actors and, "I told you to get over there. That's your spot. You're supposed to be down left, not down right." And then you look at the instructions and you find out that the director is the one who told you to go that way. He just didn't fix his book. And then, well, I told you to go over here and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, my grandpa's from Fresno. I knew there was a synchronicity. Fresno. But anyway, so I still got 2 pills. Wait a minute. I think I took them. Did I take my other 2 pills? I think I did. I worked with a guy who got his cord wrapped up in his skill saw tool, turn the saw over and pull the trigger again. Oh yeah. Yeah, I knew a guy who got, his shirt sleeve caught in the saw and like to rip his arm off. I got caught with the guard that wouldn't come back down and ripped a bunch of fingers, almost tore my hand off. Um it I was sawing with the right hand, holding the wood down with the left, and the saw backed up and came across my fingers. Yeah, I got all kinds of scars on there. You took them before you let Duggar out. Okay, thank you, Chloe. I thought so too. He's out there running around for the moment. So, but anyway, so in when they gave me this little topic, what time is it? It's it's 10 what? Yeah, it's 109, 104. It was like, it's interesting because for those of us on the religious shaman journey thing, even if you're a Christian or I can't speak for Muslims because I don't know anybody there, but Jewish folks and just other people, there's they find the older folks that I've known who Catholic and otherwise, they read their Bible, they do their prayer, they go to church on Sunday and sometimes Wednesdays too. And there is a certain frequency that they have learned. They have gotten comfortable with their God. They seem to know who Jesus is. And so no matter who's up on the pulpit, they seem to have this certain, they've learned something and they have accepted it. And guess what? They believe and they believe and they believe and they believe. And in their hearts, these little old lady, well, I know Jesus is in there. Well, I know that, I'm hoping I'm gonna go to heaven when I die. I come to church on Sundays and I read my Bible. And so in that they feel that they have fulfilled their duties, uh, um, which is a frequency because they've gone to church and they have accepted Jesus in their hearts. They've been baptized. They've been going to the same church for a bunch of years and they're comfortable with who they are. And when they go help their other folks in the neighborhood, these are the older ladies and they get around and they bake cookies and go to see after, Miss M and so they have achieved a certain frequency. They're just something about them. They're calm. They're, hi, Miss Jones, how you doing? Hi, Miss Smith. Y'all doing all right today? Yes, ma'am. And and these people, not gentlemen are fewer than there are older ladies who go to the Bible study and stuff. The guys are somehow not in the same realm as the little old ladies who sit around together and have these prayer and have these socials. And because between them they have a certain frequency, between them they have a certain knowledge, between them and their age they have this certain feeling of how they are in the universe of things. So what's that got to do with it, y'all say? Well, in the grand scheme of things, the shaman has to learn the frequency. Well, the knowledge is out there. Okay. So how are you receiving it? Well, I don't know. Well, how's my frequency doing? Am I too high pitched? Is my oscillation, is it the reason why I can't understand this? Am I thinking something too hard? Am I making it up? Am I trying to rush the universe to teach me something? And somehow am I not getting this? And sometimes it is that. Sometimes you have to shut up and listen because the receiving end of it is oscillating so much that you can't hear the answer. You can't hear what's being said by the universe. So that's why you have to sit cross-legged sometimes and go, oh, why? Because your oscillation might be off the charts. Yours might be blee, 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 blee. When the rest of the universe, yeah, I want to fill up my bowl too, because um, um, I'm, I want, what time is it? Ooh, 10 after. Yep, I see it. And so, but what has it got to do with, the price of tea in China? It's because that regardless of who you are and what you're trying to learn in the universe, and maybe you're not trying to learn nothing, and therefore your oscillation might just be way off the charts. Um, but for those of us who want to learn from the universe, um, yeah, I'm ramrodding my pipe. That some people just don't care. They don't care to learn. Well, I'm learning enough on my own. I don't need no special help. Well, I'm not saying that you need special help, but you know, you feel like you haven't learned enough, or you tell me that you learned all there is to learn about the universe. You don't need any more instruction. You got this. You read of this and you read of that, and therefore you're becoming an ascended master, and you're going to be like the greatest thing since Buddha, and you're going to be okay. But there are certain things, I'm sorry, as an observer, you haven't picked up some of these basic stuff. Number one, you're going around and bragging about how much you know. Well, look at everything I know. See how smart I am? Okay, I'll agree. You've got some knowledge there. But you're walking around and you're wearing it on your shoulder, your sleeve, look, look at me. I'm a shaman. You see my medals? Look at me. I'm a shaman. Watch me. I know how to fix a couple of herbs together. Oh, do you? Yep, I'm a shaman. And all bow to me. Okay. Well, I'm sorry, but my observation, just as a person on the outside looking and going, wait a minute, what about this simple thing? Well, I don't need that because I have jumped beyond that. I'm learning the fourth dimension. Hmm, okay, but you're speaking in 2D. What? How dare you? I'm learning to go into the fourth dimension. Well, we all are, but you're talking in 2D. Well, who are you to judge me? Well, I'm sorry, but some of the things you're saying, it doesn't seem fourth dimensional to me. I'm just an observer, but you know, no offense, but I think you still got some stuff to learn. No offense, I, but go ahead. Well, I am the shaman. I have learned. Oh, okay, all right. You've learned these things. I'm glad. I'm glad. But you haven't learned any depth. It's just two dimensional, and they don't see it. And they're supposed to be in the fourth dimensional realm. So, okay, who am I to judge? But by just asking the question. So, and they can't seem to answer it in any way because they're stuck in a 2D thought process trying to explain or, convince everybody that they're in a fourth dimensional frame of mind. Okay, no, all right. So, but moving right along with that, though, so how do you explain it to them, or do you, or can you? And the answer is no. 4D has got to be all these crazy dreams. Yeah, that too, Mark. Don't you see my 4D certificate on the wall? Yeah, and I got a little button that I wear on my shirt, going into 4D. And I'm not trying to be rude to these folks, but I'm sorry, but I learned some of this stuff way back when about just understanding different dimensional differentials, right? I've talked about it, and some of these folks they don't have a concept of some of this stuff, and they haven't listened to anybody about quantum physics or anything, or what quantum is, or what nanoparticles might be, or and nothing, right? And so, but yet they understand 4D. you know okay, so but anyway, so what difference does it make? It's that they tout that they know it and that they understand it. And I'm like, all right, I've got another 30 years on you as far as age, and I have been in and out of all kinds of stuff, and I think I have a little bit of a handle on it, but for me to say that I understand it, nope, because anyone worth their grain of salt would not agree to that. Why? Because we still live in a 3D world. Practiced in your knowledge, all I catch, Alan. I never think or care about time. Just oh, hey Amber, how you doing? Practice, practice, practice. Yeah. So, but anyway, so anyone who is understanding of the fourth dimension understands that they don't understand it. Because the more they feel it or absorb it, or is like, wow, I thought I really understood this, but I just realized I just learned a whole nother dimension about the 4D. And the universe just imparted me with some more knowledge, and holy crap, I thought I had it, but no, man, there's more to it than I thought of. So therefore, I got to back off and goes, I thought I understood it, but the universe has taught me that there's more to it. And that's knowledge. That's achieving a different level of understanding. When you understand, well, I thought, I know how to do, well, maybe not. Maybe not. There's more to it than that. We're still learning how to practice into this 4D. All right. So, but some of the people who have, oh, I've had ayahuasca and I've had this, and I can understand the frequencies of the universe now. How many times? Well, I had this one experience. Okay, I'm not discounting it, but okay, you've done it one time, and therefore that one time makes you an expert, right? That one time you've done it, you've seen the other side, you've experienced it. I'm not knocking it, but you've done it once. That's like somebody says, "Hey, would you like to would you like to drive my stock car at Daytona just around the track just for shits and giggles?" Oh, hell yeah. Get in a stock car and you race around the track at Daytona, and you get out and you go, "Holy crap, I drove a race car." Does that make you a race car driver? That you can actually race in a race? I would think not, you know. So for those folks who have done ayahuasca once or maybe even twice, are somehow they're they are beyond the experience. They are now race car drivers. You know what I mean? Because they've been around the track a couple of times. Ooh. And it takes a lifetime of understanding what it's like to go around the track a couple of times, and how does that fit into you and your spiritual journey into the universe. I missed the 20, didn't I? 21. Oh, here we go. That'll be saying you did the internet. Yep. Surfed it all. I finished it. There you go. How you doing, Miss Amber? Big hugs back at you. Cheers. So here's my bitch. Boo. My guess about some of these ayahuasca folks is talk about your experience. Go ahead, and I mean it. Explain it. Um, how did it make you feel? What have you learned since the experience? How did it how did it open up your mind? Did it? Um, what's the after effects of your experience on ayahuasca? And hey, Zara, a constructive friend. You know, they've done it once or twice. Now, y'all have heard me talk. You know, I used to get up in the morning and do a hit of acid and then go to work. And during the day, I had blotters. So I'd cut it in half in little pieces and take quarter? Yeah, a corner, and I'd munch on it and then I'd go back to work. And, I did this for months, weeks and months. I had the access to blotter, and it was, which is on paper, and it was little pictures of Mickey Mouse, this particular. And I had like 250 hits of this stuff, right? And what I couldn't sell, I was eating, you know. And that's not counting all the mushrooms that I have picked and, almost didn't make it out of the cow fields back in the day. And I have tripped a lot, okay? And I've tripped when I wasn't, I was dosing back in 85, 84, 85, 86. I was dosing back then when people are nowadays, they're learning how to do this dosing business, where they take a little bit each day or whatever to get them through the day. But anyway, I was just doing it because I was doing it and I had it. But so, to be tripping every single day and talking to my grinding machine and doing precision grinding when nobody else could do it. Um, so this idea though that these folks who have done it twice now have this understanding of the universe. They get it. Okay, I'm glad your eyes are open, but you've not been where me and some other people have been. Okay. And twice does not make you a NASCAR driver. It it gives you an idea of what a NASCAR driver goes through because you've driven around the track at Daytona, and you drove over 100 miles an hour and scared your little panties off, and so but you get the idea of what it's like, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that doesn't mean you understand it. You don't. It doesn't mean that you understand racing. Zara says, I was stuck in a time loop last time I tripped. Oh, I hate them time loops. Wait, wait, wait. I was holy crap. It moved. Hang on. I got to come back. I was at a concert and I was stuck in a time loop. Every choice I made, seen it fail right before I did it. Yeah, when you can see that far ahead. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I did it like everything felt like I had dreamed that I was reliving. It was horrible, but I loved it. Yeah, but it's an eye-opening experience, ain't it, Sarah? No, we all have different experiences. I agree with that. Time loop would freak me out. Well, if you're tripping lightly and you kind of go through a time loop, you kind of go, "Oh wow, that." But if you're heavy tripping, I mean, really balls to the wall tripping, then time loops can be horrendous. And I say this because one of the first times I tripped back in Tampa before I moved up here to Georgia, we were doing some green barrels, little green, look like barrels. And, little pills, but I had 100 of them for 75 bucks. What a deal. So we were taking one and we took another one just because we took one, you know. So this was like 1970 at the end and early 71. 8-track tapes hadn't really come out a lot. We still had 4-track tapes, which meant that you had to, it would play a track and then you had to manually go over and push a button and change the track. Now, I've talked about this before over the years, but the song was put the lime in the coconut and bring them both together. Put the lime in the coconut and you feel better. Put the lime in the coconut and drink them both down and put the lime in the coconut. Called the doctor, woke him up and said, "Doctor, there ain't nothing I can take." Over and over and over and over. There were 2 songs on that track and we couldn't get up to push the button to change the tracks. Put the lime in the coconut and then you feel better. Put the lime, woo woo, ain't another I can take. I said, woo woo, hey, put the lime in the coconut and drink them both together. Put the lime in it. And now that loop, our neighbors who we shared a paper thin wall in the trailer came over beating on the door. Change the fucking tape. Change the track. And we were like, we can't help. And he came in and went over and pushed the track button. And we listened to another track finally. It was like an hour of this endless lime in the coconut and drink them both together. Put the lime. Ah! So, and at the time, we were really heavily tripping. And because I was new to tripping, although after getting the green barrows and some other trips that I'd had, it wasn't my first time tripping, but it was like my 10th. you know, I was still pretty new at it. And I got better as the time went on with tripping, but let me tell you, so to the folks who have had ayahuasca once or twice, or maybe even 3 times, um, silly time in the coconut. Yeah. Uh, no two of us are having ever remotely similar experiences here. Yep, that's true. And technically we shouldn't, because you all haven't sat with me and we ain't tripped together, kind of thing. But even if we were sitting on the same log, watching the same fire, our trips would be different. Our experience would be different. And so, but to these folks who, because now I've not had ayahuasca. I've had peyote, and I mean real peyote. I've had lots of mushrooms and lots of acid, and a few things in between, but not ayahuasca. All right. So, but does that make me an expert? Well, I've tripped more than you have if you've only done it twice. And I don't mean to pull rank on you, but you've only done it twice, you know. And what about, and your experience is great. And I thank you for sharing, but that doesn't mean that you're a race car driver. That does not qualify you to go to Daytona and race with, you know, Al Ummendinger or the Bush guys, or, no, you're not qualified. But you do understand it more than somebody sitting in the bleachers. No problem. So you explain it to them what it feels like and what your experience is for yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, remember, it does not qualify you to be a full time NASCAR race car driver. That's all. That's what I went around the track. I know you did, but you didn't go 500 miles, and you haven't raced with other people, and you haven't gone over 150 miles an hour yet. Wait till you hit that 220 or 230 mark, when you're high up on that bank coming around into the fourth, you know. But anyway, so share the experience, but it does not make you a master. Because one of the things that these folks have not yet learned how to do is to listen yet. They're, woo, I did this and we did, and it was all exciting and everything. Yeah, okay, but shh, quiet. Now you have to listen. What do you mean? Well, it was this, we had it, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but you're yakking and you ain't listening, because that's part of this learning thing. You have to, this is going on and the universe is yakking at you. But you're yakking just as hard as the universe is, and you're not listening. But the universe will talk to you. Shh, calm down. You have to listen. It's your job on the other end. And for myself, there's years ago I wouldn't shut up, and now it's like, um, well, sometimes I listen too much. Um, you know, now y'all know me as just yakking away all the time. For last time was for 8 freaking hours. I hate shroom cubes. I tried that and it blew. I don't like man-made psychedelics. Me neither, Zara. I used to pick my own out of the fields. I knew the right ones to pick for years. And I learned how to dry them, and then I would dry them to a particular crunchiness, as it were, and then put them in the freezer. And then anytime you wanted something, you just took usually a teaspoon, kind of sort of rounded, and munch it down and drink it down. And depending on how good the mushrooms were, you might have to take another teaspoon. But if you could take a tablespoon, if you could get that much down at one time, it just have a tendency to gag you a little bit. But um, you know, so people say, "Well, I made tea and I made this," and to me, mushroom tea, I could never get it to taste right. But I could dry it and turn it into a powder, and you could mix it into a Coke. You could mix it with cocoa. It tasted really good with some chocolate and a little bit of milk, about so much, and just drink it down. But I found that just a teaspoonful and then drink it. Also, chase it. Um, Sort of like nutmeg. I was listening to somebody that was talking about, you want a cheap high, you want a really good, but then go to the local grocery store and get you a thing of nutmeg and take a teaspoon of it, not necessarily rounded up. We used to take a tablespoon when I was in jail, and it would muck you up for a day. Whoo-wee, and clean you out too. But you want a cheap high, take about a teaspoon of it and with some tea or some coffee and drink it down and don't go nowhere. Stay to the house. But it will be, I am still seeing the consecutive numbers. People buy spores off the internet now and grow them in their closet. To me, that still seems synthetic. Now, if you're honestly growing them in your own little terrarium or something, that's not synthetic. Synthetic is when they turn it into a pill and you eat it or that away. That's synthetic to me. You can die if you smoke nutmeg. I don't know. I never tried smoking it. We just took it, you know, we just ate it. Huffing nutmeg? Oh gosh. Ooh. I, oh, why would you want to light it? It's. But anyway, make some cookies and put a lot of nutmeg in them. Or make some pudding and put a lot of nutmeg in them. No, but you can OD from it now. But that's why I say teaspoon, and not rounded but level. And we used to do a tablespoonful. What what you do in jail stays like going to Las Vegas. But I'll tell you what, it'll damn sure be. I've had some hellacious conversations with the spirits when I was in jail and doing nutmeg. Oh, holy Jesus, let me. I took too much again, but we had to get rid of the evidence. There was four of us. Yeah, one, two, Joe, me, three, four, maybe five of us. So the cook, the baker, who would get the nutmeg for us, just kind of dumped it out of this larger container and just put it like in a napkin and then just wrapped it up. So when it came time for us to do our bits, he just opened up this napkin and said, "Okay, y'all get your spoons." And we're watching the door in case any guards come by and whatever. So we're like, "Okay, where's your spoon at? Right here. Got it. Okay." Scoop and take and then chase it. And then he's out the door, and the next guy is looking, and no guards around. Sarge is in the office, and you got your spoon? Yeah, scoop it in, take your bit, and chase it down. And so, it's like boom, 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 boom. So then after everybody has scooped their spoons, there's some left. Well, sometimes it was. And so what the sometimes was like, well, because I was in charge of the stock room, it was like, go ahead, Dave, clean it up. So it was like, so I'd get more than some of the other guys would, but Lord God Almighty, have mercy. Woo, wait. And then to be locked up, behind bars, tripping your wangs off, the Nutmeg Chronicles. Yeah, you can smoke banana peels for that's that's I tried it. Maybe it's that I didn't have chiquitas. Who knows? Nah, banana peels. They did that back in the day when I was growing up in the late '60s. Now you can smoke the backs of certain carpets. And, there was a thing back in the days where the hippies, the folks in New York, there was a big thing that went around that, have you smoked any carpet lately? Because if it had hemp backing, they would smoke it. I did back in the late '60s. We smoked all kinds of stuff, Of course, we didn't know any better. We didn't have the internet. Carpets. But no, seriously, expensive carpets, especially if they were from Pakistan and whatever, the carpet backing, now carpet backing, most carpets, at least in the United States, are made with plastics. And because I used to work at a carpet backing place, as anyway, so I know that kind of stuff. But carpets, if they were imported, especially back in the late 50s and 60s, all of the cool cats, the um, oh come on, yeah, man, the cool cats back in the day in the 50s and early 60s, with the mustaches and the thingies, and I can't think of the yeah, man, cool, groovy, before the hippies come out. But anyway, so, but that it was always about smoking carpet, because the carpet backing was hemp, so you could smoke the carpet backing, and of course it wasn't very good, but um, this is a history lesson. Yeah, but honest to God, Amber, about how do I feel about extraterrestrials? I've never really actually touched one. I don't think. Maybe in a previous life. But do I believe they exist? Oh hell yeah! You know, by the tune of 100 different races at least. That have been coming in and out of this planet for millions of years. Come on. Ancient aliens. Ancient aliens is great, but a lot of times they suppose. And it's like, let's not suppose, let's go ahead and say, yep, we had help, So I have been a firm believer of ETs for a long time from my own personal experience. And I watched one flying saucer shoot down another one, with a laser, I've seen some stuff that a lot of other folks haven't, I guess, in the ET realm, and seeing my own. Wished I could photograph them, kind of thing. But yeah, extraterrestrials, absolutely, I believe in them. Nancy Reagan, do you ever get telepathic messages? Yeah, actually, I do. Or see number synchronicities like 333 sometimes. Yeah, and for tonight, for example, the subject was given down by my spirit guides. They're like, have a chat tonight, and let's talk about, the oscillation of knowledge, like what? So, that message, if you want to say, was telepathically sent or energetically sent or whatever. Um, I have synchronicities, and sometimes numbers are involved, but I'm not a big numbers person. As far there are some people that just numbers are like, their thing. Like Michelle sometimes, right? Now, but there are, synchronicities, and I'll look at the clock and go, wow, it's quarter after again, or something like that. But numbers in me, as far as the psychic intervention, something, something, not unless it pertains to a particular time. Numbers are really um, obscure to me most of the time. My spirit guide is my passed on boyfriend. He's crazy on the messages, I bet. Yeah, the house numbers. Yep. I get where I think or say something, and then YouTube or another person says the same thing or finishes my sentence. Yep. There have been too many times, Amber, over the last few years, where if I get this, you know, thought to have a conversation, and then a day or two later, or maybe a week later, there are other people talking about a very similar thing. And like the word oscillation for some reason was like, Dave, you got to use oscillation. Okay. Instead of this, okay. The oscillation of knowledge. What? It oscillates. So good knowledge comes in at a frequency and it oscillates like this, and it hums or it's in tune, or you sit down with a tree whose oscillation is different from, a piece of concrete or a rock or something, So the oscillation of knowledge, well, the knowledge that you get from the universe, it comes in frequency, and that frequency is oscillating. Well, I'll be damned. Okay. Divine communication. Yeah, so, but we as see now, what's the shaman got to do with this? Well, if, as a shaman in training myself, and some of us, you all are the same, is that so how do you learn this knowledge? Well, you have to be able to hear it. You got to learn how to pick up that frequency. You got to be able to, hey, 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 oh, hey, 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 the drumming, the cadence, that is the oscillation. So you learn to hear the drum, you learn to hear the heartbeat of Mother Earth, you learn to hear the oscillation of different trees, their rhythms, their frequencies. And as you learn how to adapt, because everything's got its own radio station, everything's got its own frequency, everything's got its own oscillation because of that. So what is it about us then, those of us who are the learners, right? The students, if you will, the pupils at least, and it's we have to learn how to hear it. So the people who've only been on ayahuasca twice, who've only been around the racetrack, at Daytona just a couple of times, it just gives them an inkling of what it's like. So to do the real homework, then for anyone, no matter how many times that they have taken a mind altering drug or whatever to try to learn their frequency, is that you have to learn how to hear it. You got to learn how to listen to that universe and the different messages that are coming out that are at a high pitched or a low pitched. Oh, it's a low pitch. It must be evil because all things evil are Duggar's out there beating on the door. All things evil are at a low pitch or at a low vibration. No, sometimes elephants, they create a low pitch that can be heard for miles, and other elephants can hear it. Does that mean that elephants are evil? Let me go let Duggar in, okay? Y'all hold that thought. What'd you say, Scotty? Isby just popped in my head. Yeah, I was thinking about him the other day too, Scotty boy. As a matter of fact, not just now, but he was on my mind the other day. And also Brian. Let me go let Duggar in, y'all. I'm coming. Did you do good with chasing everybody? Did you chase everybody away? Huh? Did you chase everybody away? Did you? Okay, you good boy. All right. Now, for those folks that say, well, Dave, Hawkeye, you seem to be bragging a lot about this. Well, I'm not, because I know that I still have stuff to learn. I know that I have learned a lot, like how to sit down and how to calm myself and how to, converse with trees, how to do the same with rocks, and to try to understand, um, what the different vibrations and frequencies are, and that the understanding that everything does have its own frequency. But so by understanding that, the next step, you can understand that it's there. I understand that the fourth dimension exists, but I haven't learned how to operate in it very much yet. But I understand it's there. I don't understand all the mechanics, but I get it. Oh, there's a fifth dimension too. Oh, okay. So I understand that it's there, but do I understand how it operates or no? So, but I have to listen to the universe to understand what those frequencies are. The lessons, the knowledge is in that oscillation. So the oscillation might be really, really, the lines might be really close together. So it's, or it could be like a whale, so it could be whale song. So in the universe of things, what lessons do we learn? Have we learned to stop and listen to the whale song? To listen to the elephant in that low rumble? There are a lot of animals who, alligators do it, especially the big mamas. They let out a rumble and they vibrate the water around them. It's kind of scary, but it's neat at the same time. Well, what's scary is I was like 2 feet away from this 14-foot mother alligator sitting on her, eggs, and she shakes the water. And when you're in the middle of the Okefenokee swamp and there's a 14-foot mother alligator, who's huge, by the way, um, but so the low rumbles. So my point to that, what does that low rumble from that big mama alligator say? Get away. There's a lesson there. Don't muck with me. I'm a huge alligator. I'm sitting on eggs that are about to hatch, and you're in a canoe, and I'm bigger than you. you know. So there's a lesson there that you learn, right? So, and it's a resonance. You learn how to understand the resonance. Get away. I'm gonna hurt you. Okay. The elephants, if you could hear that low rumble from elephants, or if you could hear the whale song, there would be a lesson in that frequency. There's a resonance. It's like if you've ever played an instrument, if you strum a guitar, there's a resonance that comes out of the sound hole. There is a resonance that comes from the strings. I've been thinking about one of these days, I would love to, learn how to play the cello. And I'm not dead yet, so maybe I could buy a cello and learn how to play the thing. Well, at the moment, I can barely bend over. I can't hold my guitar, so the cello might be out of the question. But it's the resonance of the strings. It's the resonance of the bow, and so that resonance is a frequency, is an oscillation. You know. So, what does the universe teach you? Teach us. Well, if you've been to a waterfall and the water's coming down and it's crashing on you or whatever, um, I don't understand how it operates either. Honestly, don't want to know because the mystery makes life more divine. Lions roar is where it's at. That makes your soul shake. Schumann resonance is all about the 432 discovery. Oh, Mark Banjo. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. But to the point, so different drums have different pitches. I was just watching this one video and they was like, did you know that F sharp is like the right note for the earth or something? And it's like I picked this one flute many moons ago, like 20, almost 25 years ago, and it's an F sharp. So why did I pick it over all these other different um, um, flutes, tuned to different frequencies, versus a G or an A harp or so I picked an F sharp and and it plays very well. But anyway, and today I was like, I haven't played my flute in a while. I haven't played my drum in a while. And I have come up with all kinds of excuses as to why not. And I need to come up with excuses as to why. Because with the operations and the heart attacks and all this stuff that's happened to me in this last year and a half, well, actually, it's just been a little over a year, but I've lost certain frequencies. I've been, my back has been rearranged. My kundalini, my chakras have all been messed up. And, I still feel like I'm connected to the universe, but somehow I'm not connected like I used to be. And that's because I used to drum more and I used to play the flute more. I used to play my guitar more and I used to play them, period. Not more, I used to play them. But with that, so, in playing the flute, there's the melody that connects you with the universe. And playing a melody can sometimes help you to download, lessons or maybe a lesson plan. Or when doing the drum, or when you're doing a drum at a certain rhythm, and you hey 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 it's the heartbeat of Mother Earth, and so you can feel it in your own heart. And I could use some heart medicine, other than these pills over here. But the pills make me flighty in the head, and I'm not as connected as I used to be. It's obvious to me this last year with all these pills and everything, I'm not connected the way I was. Now I'm not disconnected. I'm just the frequency has changed for me. And I said after that second operation, something spiritual, there was something about the second operation that I had to have, and I'm still trying to figure that one out. And it's been 9 months ago. But, in this, I realized now here recently, oh my God, why haven't I played the drum? I don't know. I haven't, I just haven't. Well, why haven't you played the flute? I don't know. Do you have a reason or any inclination? No. All I know is that my energy and how I connect to the universe has been changed. I'm still working it out. So what I need, I still feel connected. I still feel close to the creator. I still feel, close to y'all. But at the same time, I know that I've lost something along the way. And it's that I haven't played the drum and I haven't played the flute and I haven't connected those frequencies back like I did before all the operations and the heart attack business. Wow. So understanding that the knowledge has come to me, and the knowledge is, hey, psst, with whatever's happened to you these last 9 months, 7 months, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, 7 months. Um, that I've lost those things. So by not using those frequencies of the flute, which the F sharp is like, supposed to be right in there with all these other frequencies of the earth without drumming. So although I hear the drum and I'm humming a lot of times, like, hey, well, hey, hey, Steve, I was thinking about you earlier today and wanted to call you. And I got busy cooking outside and cleaning up the yard out here. And then I started doing this. um, so how can you still feel connected, but not do the things that helps you stay connected, which is where my head's kind of. So somewhere I'm still picking up oscillations from the universe, and I still, I'm still doing the prayer thing. And this afternoon I was, just sending prayers out, just hoping that everybody was, you know, getting along okay, and sending prayers out to particular people, and their names were headed in through my Rolodex and my brain, and everything was groovy. And then I was like, um, I wished I had the energy to drum. Well, I used the lawnmower and drove around in the yard a little bit. Yeah, but why can't I pick up my drum? But I can get on my new John Deere. It's an old John Deere. It's a used one, but to me, it's new. But so then what, right? Well, I need to get my drum out, right? And I need to get my flute out. Where is my flute, by the way? And my head process is going through this. And I was trying to think earlier, since I can mow the grass now. And I have tried my cell phone, which I really like. But I want to try to do a drum fire thingy with the cell phone on uh, on YouTube. So how far can I get away from the house? And anyway, so I am working on, doing the drum and everything, but it is sort of like, well, why don't you get the drum? Well, I don't have a fire. So used to drum before without the fire. Yeah, I know. Well, then why don't you have it? Well, it was wet the other day, and it was sounding kind of clunky, and I just didn't, you can't play it when it's clunky. It's thunk, thunk, thunk. No, you can't play it. It won't play. So you have to wait till it's drier, and so excuse. Why don't you play your flute? Well, I don't know. I'm short of breath. Blah blah blah. Excuse. Why aren't you doing it? I don't know. I mean, honestly. So my look in the mirror, kind of like, I don't know, but I understand that it's necessary. That's a lesson, right there. So go to a concert. Just wait. Stinky poop is next. Uh-oh. Maybe you should put it in. Go to a concert, awaken your passion. Some of us old people, especially some of us who have had some brain damage. My friend Tommy, that I talk about, dear friend of mine who just had a birthday, by the way. I'm just slightly older than him by 9 months or something. But anyway, um, there are things, and it's like, we have talked about it between us over the years. You know, where did I forget how to grab my drum? Well, and having the back operations, having been in the hospital and having had another back operation and having had to stay in the hospital longer, and the whole, scenario back in March really disrupted me and my life and you know, my spine and all of that stuff, to the point where it's like waking up out of a dream. And so, as long as we were in the dream, and I was in a lot of pain also when I was in the hospital. So, dealing with all the pain and everything, it's like, so with all of that experience, the drum and the flute and that kind of thing, it just has kind of just, it got lost somewhere. It got lost. And then having had to have a second operation a week later, it really got lost. So I'm in the process of finding it again. But the thing, I can still hear the drum and I can still hear the flute, but I'm not playing them. Don't take any pain whatever. A test, this is only a test in the emergency. But so anyway, where does the knowledge come from? Well, I realized that because I haven't drummed, I might have been missing out on some good knowledge because I haven't drummed. Well, am I smart enough? Do I know enough from the universe that I don't need to drum anymore? I don't think so. You know, um, have I learned so much that I don't need to repay the energy with the flute? No, I don't think so. For me to play the flute, the melody is to say thank you to the universe. And I should be thanking the universe for having made it through two operations and another heart issue and damn near dying the last time here, with all that mess. And I should be thanking the creator. And I am. As I walk or do or be with, with Duggar, I'm always thanking the creator. But for some reason, I've been mind wiped of drum and flute. So I need to bring it back, right? Also, I've been promising to do the cards, but this last heart issue just kind of wiped something out of me, and I don't really know what it is. Like I say, I still feel connected to the universe. I still feel close to the creator. I still feel close to my spirit guides, but for some reason, the oscillation and the frequency that I used to do with my drum and with the flute are missing. I want them back. I want them back, you know, because I want to thank the universe for allowing me to still be here. So the flute needs to be thank you medicine. The drum needs to be thank you to Mother Earth and thank you to the universe, and to all of you, by the way, for prayers and so forth. But just between me and the universe, I need to create that resonance. I need to repay the universe with a frequency and with a positive attitude, which I am. I'm happier than hell that I'm still here. So why not pick up my drum and do it? Why not pick up the flute and play? So, Mark, everybody be kung fu fighting. Everybody is kung fu fighting. It was fast as lightning. Dun 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 dun, bum 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 bum. Yep. Anyway, what time is it? We missed a. Oh, it's 2:10. Oh, we coming up on a 20. I think it's important to say that we must be logical in our spiritualism, like actual mentally logical. Yeah, that too. Because nature is kind of logical, you know? Um, them folks out, that out at Burning Man, supposedly they cranked up the fire. But Burning Man, it rained and it turned the desert into mud. Well, it's never been like this. Well, guess what? Not every time is the same. Oh, but it's special as well. The earth is a billion years old. How many times has it probably rained in the desert? In fact, the desert at one time might have been an inland ocean or a lake or something, by the way. All them people got stuck in the mud. Yeah, welcome to South Georgia, where mud abounds. Um, and they one interview I saw this older couple, and she sounded British or maybe Australian. She goes, "I love it. I love the mud." She goes, "The Burning Man is supposed to be, an experience of meeting others and how to survive and how to do this." And she goes, "The mud's just another way, of this learning experience." Everybody else was pissing and moaning, and she was like, "I love the mud." And I was like, "There you go, there you go. That's the right attitude. That's the right attitude." you know. Oh, but the mud. Yep, but there's a lesson in the mud. You know, you got rained on in the desert. What? Yeah, you got rained on in the desert. It's not supposed to rain. I'd be curious to see how the desert reacts to after the rain, whether it blooms or. Oh, well, it's never happened before in your lifetime. Well, it's never in your lifetime. And don't ever say it's never happened. The earth is a billion years old. Stuff happens. So the resonance. So regardless of our spiritualism, well, I was talking a little bit ago about the little old ladies that, the Baptists and the Catholics uh, the or Methodist or Episcopalians. I mean, but the little old ladies, because there are fewer little old men, but they sit there with their hats and they're in church and they're praying. And the Catholics that got their rosary beads, not speaking bad, but they are intent. And they're old enough and they have prayed enough, they know where they're at, you know. And most of them are not afraid of the fact that when they die, they're going to go to heaven. Why? Because they have spent the latter part of their life praying, like me in a way. Um, but they're reading their Bible, they're saying their prayers, and one would say the more devoted or more intent than I am, but every day while I'm riding around on the lawnmower, I'm praying, and sending good vibes out. So I don't need a Bible in order to do that. But one could say, well, they have more intent because they're reading the Bible. And okay, well, my Bible should be the drum. My Bible should be the flute. So where I'm in my realm of shaman learning, um, I have read the word But now I need to put it into practice. So the practice is using the drum for me as a Native American follower type shaman person. The drum should be there. The chanting should be there. The song should be there. Opening up the throat, opening up the lungs, and opening up the heart back to the universe where these medicines and being on monitors. I'm on a monitor right now, but I need to put on the battery charger here. But so being monitored as I'm speaking, but at the same time, I'm also being monitored by the universe. My nose itches. Can you tell the medicine's just making my face itch? I'm worried about my great grandson because his dad is thinking of moving far away. Don't worry too much, Steve. Lessons got to be learned, and just lessons got to be learned. We'll say some prayers and try not to worry, but hope things work out. Mark says to reincarnate here more than once should be the definition of insane. Well, but Mark, that's one of the things. If you've ever listened to Dante and know who he is, um, our eternal life is reincarnation. So we don't ever die, we get reincarnated. So, but if we're reincarnated in different time zones, it depends on our life experience. So, maybe we were all Atlanteans at one time, and we have gone through so many different reincarnations, and the earth has reincarnated. I mean, there were the Egyptians, and then there were giants, and then there was, all these other things. And here we are now with rockets and spaceships and internets and stuff. And what's to say that we didn't have some kind of internet back in the day of the Egyptians? But, who knows? Because of frequencies and oscillations. So, but anyway, so are we learning anything new these days, or are we actually skirting the edge of what has happened before, on this planet? But reincarnation is our eternal life when we're granted eternal life. Okay, we just get reincarnated. Well, okay. The Hindus and Indian folk and Pakistani folks and stuff, believe in reincarnation. Okie dokie. So in this shaman journey, in the spiritualism of things, why does it seem important that we do good in our lifetime? Because our hopes are, my hope is, because I can remember parts of my previous life. I was a real son of a bitch and should have been shot early so I didn't hurt other people. But I had to come back literally here on this property um, and fix things because I was such an idiot when I was here before. So, but also in that karma thing, but also in that I get a chance to do a better job this time around. Well, what does that mean? Well, I'm hoping that then the next time I won't have to come back here because I will have fixed this, but that I will get the opportunity to experience something else in my next life. Maybe I'm going to be a not a guard dog, but a guide dog. Guard dog starts with a G. Guard dog, guide dog, guide dog. and, or maybe I'm going to be something else. Who knows? But so I'm going to do my best in this life because I'm hoping that when I do come back the next time, I will have learned a few things and I won't be making stupid decisions like I did in this time. But some of these stupid decisions I made, now I can talk about them and say, y'all don't do this, and here's the reason why. you know, Please don't do like I did. Try to avoid this at all cost if you can. Or possibly you should try this more than once, depending on what it might be. Chloe Mark, I think we all agree, but I recommend what? Was it 11:20? Yeah, it's 2:21. Okie doke. Time. I filled this thing up. If it gets fixed, then I'm. So why is it important to like do good? Well, would you like a chance at a better life next time around? If you understand that life is eternal, and if you understand that reincarnation is that's how we get eternal life, and if we do good this time around, then maybe next time we'll have the opportunity. And if you listen to what Casey said, Casey said that we have the opportunity where he said, sitting up out there, they come up and say, okay, Dave, Hawkeye, we've got we got an opening here that needs a soul. Now here's what this soul's going to have to go through. This is what the life's going to look like. Do you accept this job? Yes or no? And it's like, I don't know what the hell I chose this for, because I think I knew in my angel self that I had shit I had to work out from my previous encounter down here, and this was an opportunity for me to fix it. Not to necessarily be the all know, I know everything, but to learn and to learn how to listen, because I didn't listen before. I knew it all. I knew everything. And I went through a spate early on in life where I know how to do this. I know what I'm doing. I know. And sometimes I was faking it big time. But I was telling everybody I knew what I was doing and I was faking it. But at the same time, there was an inner knowledge that I did know what I was doing because I'm still the pioneer down here on my property, right? I'm still homesteading. And so, but I had homesteaded before in a previous life. So there were things that I really did know, but I hadn't done them in this life yet. But I knew how to do it. But I don't know how I knew, but I knew, but I didn't, but I did. And anyway, it's been the whole thing obviously has been a lesson. But I went through a point in time where I bragged about I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Man, I didn't really. I just sort of thought I did. And that got me in trouble early on. And so had to learn how to pull that. I know how to do this shit back and learn how to be modest and learn how to be more modest and then learn how to be really modest and then learn how to keep your mouth shut even though everybody else was doing it dead wrong and you knew better. You let them make their mistakes and then you quietly came in and said, hey, if y'all will do it like this, it will be easier. And then all of a sudden, you learned a lesson and people would listen to you. And then people got things done and they learned lessons. And they also was able to get the job done. And all through a different frequency and a different oscillation. Yeah, it's all related. Hey, that way. Everything we've done in our whole lives got us here, right? Yep, absolutely. That way I can feed the world again. Procreating always came natural to me. I'm dying for some queso right now. Everything. Really, Scotty, I find that hard to believe. I was obviously of a breeding stock in a previous life. Yeah, I was a something. I was a real SOB to some people here on this property and nearby. And just anyway, and I had to learn to listen to the spirits that are here this time around because I was such a real stinker in the previous life here. But that's one reason why I have this certain affinity to being here. And for myself. But also, I have thought about this, and I don't really want to, somebody said, well, I've been here for so long, I'll probably haunt the place. I hope not. I really do. I hope I really like it here, but I no, there are other places I would like to go to, to go on an adventure. And if I've been here in a previous life and I'm here now to fix what I messed up last time, I would really hope that I have learned enough to go on another adventure, to go someplace else and learn something new, or experience something new. It might not necessarily be to learn it, but to experience it. I mean, I can be a pioneer someplace else, maybe on another planet or something. And I can, you know, work with the land and work with the outdoors and nature in whatever category that might be, but maybe not down here, not on this spot, maybe someplace else, just in general. So why do I want to be good and stay connected towards the end of my life this time around? So I might pave my way, pay it forwards into the next life. That's why. How much can I learn? How much can I retain when I pass on? I go into that white room that I talked about and that several of us have talked about being in the white room. And something occurred to me today. It was like I was in the white room and talking with my buddy at the hospital before we left, and talking about it, but I forgot to ask him, and I don't know if it came up in our conversation or not, but I was curious as to my relationship in the white room. Was I sitting down or was I lying down on a gurney or a cart or something? And I can't remember. So I kind of like I'm thinking about it without thinking about it. It's like, okay, all right, universe, was I sitting or lying? Could have been a dentist kind of chair where I was reclining, or was I on a gurney like I'd been in with all the procedures that they'd done to me? Or was I sitting or was I standing? Or was I floating? I was in the white room and I could look around and see what was there, but how was I there? Was I there in a body, or was it just that my consciousness was there? I was existing in the white room and looked around, but was I sitting? Was I standing? Or was it just my consciousness that was in the room? And I wasn't there in a form per se. Therefore, I wasn't sitting, nor was I lying down, but I was in the room and I was speaking with the angel that was there. but was I floating or, So in my trying to understand what was my status, standing, lying, sitting, I feel like that it was just me as an entity was there. I don't think I was sitting or whatever. Uh, but you're right. Was you just, yeah, I was just a pair of eyeballs, basically. Yeah, like I was only eyeballs. That's a good way to put it. I mean, my consciousness was there and I was aware of what was going on and I knew I was there, but I wasn't. So, for whatever reason, we talked about it. What it's been almost 2 weeks ago now, but I had a conversation with the guy at the hospital when I was there. But in reflecting, I was thinking, need to have a conversation about the white room again and kind of sort of make it like the topic for a discussion rather than talk about it, 2 hours into a video, but talk about it, as a place. Well, but how was I in the white room? So yeah, I described it and we agreed, and he agreed with another guy, and we all agreed. And I've talked with the white room before, and so we all agree on the white room. But I didn't ask anybody up to this point how you were in the white room. Sitting, lying, or were you just two eyeballs, as Zara says? Um, Spirit was there, your consciousness was the observer. Right. But I mean, while you're sitting there doing it, spirit entity, I guess we can call that the same. San Francisco subject. Oh, hi, Wire. How are you? And see, and I don't even know if I was eyeballs, but Zara, I get what you're talking about. Good night. But I was the presence behind my eyeballs. And I knew that. Yeah, sleep well, rest well. Thanks for hanging out with us. So, man, thanks for your 10 cents worth, or 20 cents worth, or a quarter. Okay. Yep. Again, thank you, Scotty boy. And I agree. Thanks for the conversation. Been a long, hot day, and I'm getting really tired. Good night, sisters. You too, Steve. And I've been on here now for 2 hours, and I didn't, me, I didn't think I could jack this long. But 2:33, yeah, almost 2 hours. But smoke the rest of this bowl and maybe a cigarette and have a little bit more conversation and wrap this up. But yeah, I got to go to bed too. I got stuff I need to get done this week. But I did want to, get on here tonight, this morning. And I know that there are folks who will watch this in the morning when they have their coffee. And they have all told me, it's hard to listen to more than, an hour and a half, 2 hours. And maybe I won't do another 8 hour. God Almighty. I love you all. I do. But in this, so the frequency and the resonance, and also one of the things that I've been understanding different levels over the many years, and having had my personal uh, operations and heart issues and all these meds, which has greatly affected me and my connection to the universe, I might add. So each one of y'all have got your own foibles, if you will, that might keep you from connecting really good, or and maybe you are connected really good. I'm, far be it for me to judge. But like for me to judge myself to realize, what happened to the drum, Dave? Hawkeye, you used to drum all the time. Yeah, I know. Well, I don't know what happened. And somehow with getting old or whatever, certain things that used to be like you didn't have to think about them, they were just there. You just did them, you know? Um, like picking up the flute and playing a tune. Yeah, I just did it. It was just there, and you did it. My guitar, I used to just pick it up and play a couple of songs. You just did it, and then all of a sudden, get whacked out by a couple of operations and some heart issues and medicines, and then all of a sudden there are things you just forgot how to do. There are things that used to be very common and every day. Well, at least once or twice a week. It was more common than just forgetting about everything. So, and it's interesting. It's sort of like you have to relearn. You have to open up the brain again and go, wait a minute. I used to just do it. I didn't have to think about it. I just did it. And now I got to wait a minute. How do I play the guitar again? Where is it? How do I hold it? What do I do? What was that song again? I mean, stuff. You just got to go back in there and find it again. So, writing poems and writing stories and doing the puppets, that I did for 25 years and actually longer, but we'll stick with that one. And the fact that I haven't done it in 15 years, like what? So things I want to do again, things that were just natural to me before got lost somewhere down the line. And in my old age, somehow I want to not reinvent, but reinvigorate those things. So because they used to be natural, so it seems now to be unnatural that I'm not doing them. If that makes sense. So I feel unnatural because I haven't played the drum since my operation. Well, a little bit. I feel unnatural because I haven't played my flute. I have unnatural because I haven't played. I'm unnatural because I haven't done this, and so it's time to become more natural again. I'm still connected to the universe. I still don't feel like I've lost anything, except that there used to be the flute and the drum, and these things were extras. It made things more fulfilling. Waking up on the floor, a couple of weeks ago when I had that blackout and hit the floor, it stunned me. It just like, oh, holy crap. I could have died right there. And I wouldn't have known until the other side, till the white room. Um, but at the same time, that hitting the concrete floor and waking up, how I don't know how long I was out. But waking up and going, oh shit, I knew that life was short. I'll be 71 and on the 24th. And I'm very proud to be here, after all this stuff this last year. Holy crap, am I proud to be here. But wait a minute. So do I want to be around a little longer? Yeah. So then we need to make sure that our frequencies and our energies and we got our stuff together, need to make sure that we're working on heart consciousness, which I am. I instead of my 10 cigarettes the other day, I only smoked 4. So I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to pay attention. I'm trying to not kill myself, and at the same time, I realize that because of what's happened, I'm still out of step because I'm not drum. I haven't drummed and I haven't played the flute. So therefore, I'm out of step. These incidents have caused me to misstep in life, to have a misstep of frequency. To my resonance is different because I'm still hooked up to a monitor right now. So little thingy right there, my monitor and my little telephony right there. So what good is a sane mind? It's an insane world. Yeah, we don't want to be too sane, but we do want to learn how to be the observer without going crazy. We gotta, you've heard me talk about it before about the chaos. We gotta watch it, keep an eye on it, but we gotta stay out of the chaos as much as possible. If you gotta get to the other side of the river and the stream's up a bit, you gotta be careful, but you still have to cross through the chaos to get to the other side. But you know how to do it. You got to be careful and don't let the chaos freak you. Well, the water's up. Yeah, but you've been through here before. And there's a rope and you're holding on. And don't worry about it. You got this. You've done this before. Calm down. Frequency, resonance, oscillation. So, in this world of things, speaking of oscillations, and they've given me a little, something to think about as oscillation. Now let's change the word to undulation. It's not the same. Oscillation, undulation. Well, an undulation is a sort of an oscillation, depending on how you look at it. And a good undulation is going to make you oscillate. But so, what am I speaking about? Dance. So, connection to the universe, it can also be through dance. So the oscillation of the body can be an undulation of movement, you know, a little turkey burkey with the booty wooty, and or the sinuous, motions, both male or female. Or there's then there's the do the twist, kind of really getting down with the movement. Um, then there's the slow rhythm and there's the fast rhythm. There's the foxtrot, if you will. So, but each one of them is the dance. And I was thinking the other day, about Hawaii, and I remember years ago when we were growing up that once a month we would get these packages in, and these packages would be a record or two, um, and slides, and we had a projector. And so on the record, it would be this narrator talking about, the Honolulu and blah, 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 blah. And then there'd be a tone. And then you'd change to the next slide. Well, we had Thailand, we had UK, we had, all over the world, this was our education. And they played music. There were these slides that we watched, and the two or three families we'd get together and we've got a new one to come in. So we'd sit down and put up the screen. We did the whole 9 yards. Nice stereo, could hear it clearly, and we'd all sit around and eat popcorn and watch. Well, I remember watching. Um, they were stills. They weren't actually movies, but we got to hear the music and we got to see the stills. And then later on we got color TV and stuff and we could actually see it then. But back in the day in the early 60s, to go to Italy by seeing these pictures and or go to Greece, or go to wherever it was that we were going. um and we could blow it up on the screen, and we could go back and look at the picture again. And but so that I learned a lot about the world back then because we got these things once a month. So, but anyway, where was I headed with that? Oh, about the fact that they were talking about that speaking with their hands, so that the hula dancers, it was the Hawaki Wachi Wa, da 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 da, and I'm not making fun, um, but that so the communication with the hands, and with the dance, the frequency, the motion, the undulation of the body, and the shaken, and but that is also part of the frequency. You dance to a certain beat, and some of it was slow and very rhythmic, and another was like Tahiti. you know how do you shake your hips like that? Isn't your back sore? I mean, oh my God, with the physical um, prowess of these hula dancers. But not only that, but then the stories that they tell with their hands. So me being a storyteller and a puppeteer, understanding that you don't have to you don't say anything verbally, but you say it with the motion and with your hands. So you connect the resonance with motion, which is, guess what? The oscillation. Your oscillation, your frequency, how you move your hands, how you move your body to the story, how you tell the story with your hands through the you know oscillation, undulation. Oh my God, it's all connected. you know and there are those folks who get it, like dancers, and storytellers, like the hula girls and those folks, or in interpretive dance. And there are some interpretive dance that I'm like, it's sort of like jazz of the body. What are you doing? I don't know. I'm just interpreting. Yeah, but you're just wiggling around and doing this. It doesn't, to me. It's some certain types of jazz just don't make no sense to me. It is just noise. And some interpretive dance to me is noise of the body. It doesn't make any sense. You're just wiggling around. Oh, but I'm interpreting. Okay, I know it's freewheeling, and but to have a little bit of structure in your freewheeling, I'm just saying, this just wiggling around and going like this is okie doke. If that's your interpretation, I'm all right with it. But there's something about the interpretive, that like I'm thinking of powwow dancing, of the jingle dancers. They have bells all over their costumes, right? And when they jingle dance, they have to. So there's a certain tone, and you get yourself to move in such a way that all of these bells all over your costume jingle and sound as one. And so, but then you can just be haphazard and there's just all of these jingle bells just jingling all over the place. But then when you get all of these 20 or 30 or sometimes 40, 50 bells that are attached to their dress, or their skirt, however. And but when they get them all to sound at the same time during the dance, and even though their feet or however might be moving around differently, but they get all the bells, they get that jingle going. It's great to listen to and to watch, and the intensity of the dancer. versus just going out there and just jumping up and down, which there are some jingle dancers that they're when they're free to dance the way they want to, it just sounds like noise. Okay. So the fact that they have bells on to signify what their body's doing. In other words, if you jump around a certain way, the bells are going to sound a certain way. If you dance a particular way with the right rhythm and the right frequency and the right oscillation and undulation, that these bells sound, and then there's a harmony there, and it goes along with the drum, and then vicariously, I have danced beside jingle dancers, um, and just being next to them when they're dancing, and it's it vicariously, I'm like, I want to be able to hit the same rhythm they are, but I don't have bells on like that. Sometimes I have worn bells around my ankles so I can mimic the jingle dancers, but they've got this whole thing going on. So what does that mean in the long run? So how do you dance to the world? And you don't have to have jingle bells on, but how do you dance with the world? How does your energy dance in with or without the chaos? How does your energy make it through? Because life is a dance, whether we believe it or not, but life is a dance. We have to negotiate around stuff. There are nooks and crannies in the ground that we have to make sure we don't fall into. There are rock slides. I heard there was a rock slide in Tennessee today or yesterday, or, got to be careful of them rocks for real. But then there are mudslides, and then Las Vegas had, the streets were running full with water. I don't want anybody to get hurt, but good. Las Vegas could use some water. We've been flooded in Florida for a bunch of every summer. Somebody gets flooded. It's normal. Sometimes you get flooded worse than other times. We didn't get flooded too bad up here. The river came up, but not like it did when Michael was here. We really got flooded. Um, but anyway, so in life, there are ups and downs, undulations, those things that we learn how to deal with. And some folks drown. They drown not just in the water, but they drown in the music. They drown with what life gives them, and they haven't learned how to dance around the bad spots. Oh, there's a hole in the road, yeah, and then they dance right into it and they fall right down. Oh, by the way, I fell and had a good fall today, right into the flower bed with the weed eater on top of me. That was fun. I just laid there and went, "Oh, holy crap! How did I didn't black out? I fell, and I couldn't stop myself. I was like, "Oh, holy crap! What do I? Whoops! I'm on the ground, in the weeds, in the flower bed. Trying to do better and trying to exercise and right into the flower bed. This that's my favorite. Lots of giggles during those heart to heart, mind to mind, wordless conversations. Yep. Simple smile from a high frequency person. Yep, absolutely. Language is spoken completely without a sound, no words. Yep. And I used to know some sign language, and I could speak it some, but I'm really bad about understanding it. So but in speaking with the hands and speaking with The Native Americans, they didn't speak a lot. And the folks that I have been around, you literally, I'm sorry, it was psychic. You spoke to each other with your eyes and with a nuance or something, and you just knew. You didn't have to talk. And I have known a few people over the years to where we could work all day long and not say 20 words. Now there were times where we would have conversation while we worked, but then there were times where we just worked and did our job and whatever, and it was very spiritual, and we hardly said a word to each other. We just worked. We just did it. We were just, and it very spiritual. So, but to find people who can work like that, that understand that you can work like that with other people without having to talk or converse all the time. To me, I'm yapping all the time, but those times when it's just appropriate not to say anything. And there's more to be learned from saying nothing and just listening. But then there is the sharing, I swear to God, of the mind meld. And it's very strong and very powerful. And when you find somebody that you can mind meld with and work, like we were, building a log cabin, me and my friend Dale, years ago. And did we just did it. We'd get this in and we'd go, yay, yeah. And you'd point, that meant grab this end, we're gonna spin the log over it. Then we'd notch it and fit it and roll it back over and everything. You'd have to look at the other guy to make sure what was going on. So he'd hold it on one end while I'd chop the notch, and then I'd look down at his end and I'd hold it and he'd put his notch in. So then we'd roll the log. We didn't have to say anything. We just watched each other. And so, we worked the whole day, and we talked more when we took a break and smoked a bowl. Then we'd go back to work and hardly say a word, all afternoon long, building this log cabin. And so, and there were other instances, but that's the one that really comes up because it was early on in our relationship. It was early on in our development of understanding that you can work without saying anything, that there's just this mutual, and you get it, and you just look at each other and and there's a smile, and there's a nod, and there's a wink, and there's a gesture, and you just know. And, the oscillation of the universe, when things just wiggling just right. Yeah, I love you too. More of the smell of bacon frying in the cool mountain morning. Yeah, there ain't nothing wrong with that. Or some scrambled eggs but yeah, I haven't had bacon in so long, I forget. But listen, so it's been 2.5 hours, and I promised I wasn't going to do this. That's our first true language. Yep. But so Native Americans and other peoples too, they learned how to communicate with their eyes, and that also meant that they were communicating also psychically. Absolutely psychically. Just look at one another and look over here. You ever, I mean, and the people, I don't mean this with disrespect, but the folks who live in the desert and in the, I'm going to call them the sand peoples, who deal with, whether it be, Saudi Arabia or Syria or anybody over there that has to deal with the sand. And I don't mean that bad, but them folks who deal with them sand folk, that desert folk, they can look at each other without saying a whole lot and understand. They just get it. And so there are different races and cultures and so forth. And when you reach that point where all you got to do is look at them or get an awareness, and they'll look around at the situation and just nod up and down. You don't have to say anything, and they will know what you mean, or close to it at least. And, there are situations, all over the planet where people know how to speak without saying anything, but there is a closeness. And I don't think people in America, it depends on who you are, where you're at. But I mean, if the factory workers, for example, especially Mexicans, I don't know why, I've seen some white people do it too, but you'd be working along and, somebody on a machine will go, hey, and you'll look over and they'll give this jerk like to look over there. And so two or three people will all of a sudden turn their head and look over there, and then they watch whatever's going on and they look at each other and they nod up and down or go like this or laugh or whatever's going on. So if they do it because there's noise in the factory and they got earplugs in, they can't hear one another. So the whole conversation is with a nod to the head, everybody looking back and forth to each other. They're still doing their job, but they're having this conversation without saying a word. Happens all the time. When I've worked at Prestolite, all these different cells, and you could look up down, and you could see these three women just laughing and looking back, and they ain't saying a word, but they're watching something or they've said something, but they just looking the way they look at each other. They're having conversation up here. Yep. So, can we have conversation with ESP? Yes. Do we? Yes. How can we have conversation ESP? Because we've learned how to match our oscillations with each other. We've learned how to match our frequencies. We've learned how to visually see what's going on and fine tune those frequencies. Like, holy crap, this is actually for real. I like to play a game with my friends. We will write down our unsaid conversations we had in mind. It's amazing how it's almost word for word on point. Yeah, it is. How start by turning off ESPN. Yeah. There are different ways to pick up different frequencies, and different people have. Some folks are tuned into frequencies like with sports, and scores and people with uh, you know average batting averages and whatever, who they played for and they who they traded to, and I go like, oh, well, they're still playing. Didn't they play for another team? Yeah, well, they got traded, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay. I don't know all that, but, John Doe used to play for Umpty Scrunch, and now they're playing for Italy dupes over there. I don't know. I just remember the name, who he played for and how, and but then there are folks who can give you all their stats and where they graduated high school from, and like, okay, I remember whatever the game was I was watching the other day. One of the players is, he played football in Bainbridge. Well, that's just a hop, skip, and a jump down here, down to Bainbridge for me. So the fact that somebody's playing national ball. They were still playing for college, but he was a big time football player in Bainbridge too. So we like to play football here in Georgia, as they say. You've heard me too, but understand it is in your mind as a thought of just Chloe. I don't think you connect the message as from me, but you get the message through your own going with it, and it comes forth as to the surface, huh? As the thought of just Chloe, I don't think you connect the message as for me. There are times when it is. Absolutely. I mean, it's astounding sometimes, I can hear, you know, a conversation and then repeat it to somebody and go, that's exactly what I was thinking, and repeat it word for word. So, but you get the message through your own going within it. Yeah, well, sometimes it's just a feeling, but then sometimes it's word for word. So even though we don't talk on the phone, but there are times when, and from other people too, it's word for word and it's clear as a bell. So, sort of, Chloe. But I made a decision to grow my soul and shut out everything I see as no value to me. Yep, I understand that, Scotty boy. And y'all know I've been doing this now for, I gave up a lot of stuff over the years and then I kind of backslid. Well, then I got hurt and I spent a lot of time, having to sit in this chair. And, when your blood pressure is really low and you're kind of flying high and you're worried about hitting the concrete floor, you have to sit in one place until you know, your frequency and everything gets back to normal. So I've spent way too much time in this chair, I say recently, the last few years, because of my physical condition. And like today, I wanted to go out and do something, and it was all I could do to just freaking breathe sitting in this chair. I mean, I was like, shortness of breath. And I wasn't smoking or doing anything. I was just having some of those moments. So I sat here and regulated my breathing. My blood pressure was okay, a little low. And then I went outside and rode around on the lawnmower for a little bit, and came back in, checked my BP and everything. But some of the things that keeps me from doing stuff is a little bit of it's fear. Fear that my blood pressure is too low and I might not make it back in the house, because it's like, I'm having a ball here, but maybe I shouldn't go outside, because my BP's under 100, it's under 95, maybe we should sit here. So with the sitting here, which is a good thing, mind you, I should not be outside when my BP's that low. Um, but that means that I've been sitting here more than I would like to, you know what I mean? So what my plans are and what I would like, but when the body doesn't cooperate, even though I'm sitting here and I'm meditating and I'm breathing right and I'm monitoring my situation, sometimes the heart and the body's just doing its own thing, which is odd because I used to think that I had control of the situation. And now old age has set in, and that's, that ain't true the way it used to be. So, but, I still do the best I can under the situations. But, you know, I have to learn how to deal with this new oscillation, if you will, with my heart. and the fact that it wants to race and I got to take all these medicines and blah, 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 blah. I got to be careful. So I can't just go off racing around like I used to, and going to look for all these odd oscillations in the world. I now have to walk more carefully in my moccasins, if you will, and be more wary of my steps. Doesn't mean I can't go dancing, but I have to pick the slower ones first. I might not be able to do the twist, but I can still participate. I can still dance, but to the slower ones. I can still, I can still oscillate, but in a lower frequency. And that doesn't mean evil. Everything evil vibrates at a low frequency. Blah, blah, blah. If it's at a low frequency, it's got to be okay. Calm down. I said this a couple hours ago. The elephant, they give low frequency and other elephants can hear them from miles away. Same thing with whales. The whales do the whale song and they can send a frequency through the water and can be heard for long distances, right? So low frequencies are not necessarily evil. Can evil beings use the lower frequencies? Sure. Can they use the higher frequencies? Yeah. Which would make you go crazy faster? Listening to a whale song or listening to a high pitched for very long. The high pitched would drive me batty within a few minutes, where the whale song, the low tune to the low vibration, could probably hum along with it for a while versus the high pitched frequency. So the oscillation, high pitched, gonna drive me fucking crazy. Below frequency, I can mellow out a om. I can ride along on that frequency. I can ride along with that oscillation. Which would you rather, be annoyed by? The low frequency. So the low frequency, is it evil? No. Can it be? Yeah. So could any other frequency along the line. You know, it depends on what's being conveyed on that frequency and whether or not you're tuned into it versus just being a bystander. So if you're understanding what can be hidden in the frequency or being said in during the oscillations, it's up to you because, hey, Katniss, it's up to you as to whether or not it resonates with you. Aha! See, all these things do connect together even after 2 hours and 38 minutes. It's low frequency intentions versus just sound. Yep, yep. So, there are different frequencies, is like 440. They picked 440 because some of the claims that I heard back in the day was that 440 sounded better on AM radio stations. And since I used to work AM radio, I'm like, well, yeah, the analog back in the day, there were certain things that you just sounded better at certain ways, right? But having tuned my guitar to a 432 kind of thing and hearing how it sounds and how a D sounds better and how, an F sounds better and just certain chords they're, I say they're easier to play. They're easier to play because the the high E is not tuned so high, it's back down a little ways. So where the high E is always nee, 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 bang, that'll break. But when you tune to the 432 and where everything's down a notch, um, the strings aren't as stressed. And the music sounds better to me coming out of a guitar. So, also in singing some of these tunes, scared me to death, Duggar. What the hell's out there? So, but anyway, so, but they say that 432 and the Germans said it and so forth, and it was easier to tune and blah, 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 blah. That, you know, when actually violins and things, when they tuned up with an orchestra, they actually tuned to 432 because the violins and things back in the day, they were all, that's how they got tuned, going all the way back to, to all the composer days, Mozart and all them folk. So, and the harpsichord was tuned to 432 kind of thing. So, anyway, and then somewhere along the line, they bumped it up. Well, now that awareness has come around, there are people who are playing in 432 now, and it just seems more natural. But, was it a conspiracy? I don't know. Did everybody agree on it back in the day? Yeah. For whatever the reason was, not sure, but well, we're all going to be the same. It's all going to be the same frequency. We all agree to this. They could have agreed to 432, just saying. But like I said, what I heard, and it's been a bunch of years ago, they said 440 was chosen because of AM radio. It sounded better. And I was like, wait a minute. Now having played 432, but now the sound equipment is much better than it was way back in the day when they originally agreed to it. So just saying. Is it true? I don't know. But now people are aware of it. So to the same point, when people become aware of their own frequency, when people become aware of their own oscillations. In other words, am I going to talk like this all the time and I'm going to be way up here and you're going to be annoying as fuck, you know? Or do you choose to be more of a mellow person and slow things down a little bit so that people can understand you and they can hear the warmth in your voice and they can see your smile versus, and didn't you hear what I said? No. You know, slow your ass down. Now, there are some folks who are so goddamn slow that it's like, you need to shove something up their ass and give them like a crank in the old days to start the vehicle. Come on, bitch, get going here. Well, I just thought I'd talk about, and come on, get going. Crank that bitch up a little bit. You need to get some oscillation going in yourself. And this is younger people too now. They just got this slow way of trying to get it. I think what they're doing is they won't get their face out of their phone or whatever that they're doing to be able to like think for themselves in a straight line for more than 2 minutes or for more than a minute sometimes. Um, but when you find that you have your own oscillation, when you find you have your own core vibration, and when you can learn how to resonate with others and without being pushy, without being forceful, but by just doing it, that's the gift from the universe. So almost 3 hours, I assume it's done to transmute the what some may see or understand to be the evil spell of good morning, morning. Oh, it is 12:20. Thank you, Scotty. And it's time to finish this bowl. There might be one left in here. And then I got to get out of here. 3 hours. Goodness gracious. It's done to transmute what some may see. See, there are some who would say good morning with the way you spelled it as in morning. And then there are those who say, the sun's coming up and good morning. And you put your hands up and you praise the creator for the sun coming up again and bringing us warmth or sunshine or, growing help. And, or there are folks who are like, oh, the morning that they take the words and they use it backwards. And it's by thinking those words, then you have a tendency to participate with the words simply because you've thought them, said it, or otherwise attuned to that frequency, even for a minute. So, but if you don't go there and keep that morning sunshine with brightness. Here comes the sun, doo 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 doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right. Little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it feels like yes, it's been clear. Here comes the sun, doo 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 doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right. So keep that in mind versus, the other morning. And even though the here comes the sun, 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 here it comes. Even though that song, over my many years, the people that I have been involved with, friends, neighbors, family, who I've watched the sun come up after a long night or woke up early and watched the sun or whatever. So the song over the years, having sang it with a positive thought, has sometimes brought up melancholy while I'm singing the song. And it's like, man, I remember a friend of mine. We was on acid. And we saw the sun come up, and sun, 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 here it comes. You know, sun, 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 and let's sing along, everybody, a little bit of harmony. Sun, sun, sun. So that's a positive thing. But in singing it, there's melancholy because I miss that friend of mine, and I'm miss that time that we had and some of the things we shared and sun. So I'm hopeful and happy and joyous, but at the same time there's a tad bit of sadness in there. But I wipe away the tear and think, yeah, but how positive it all was. But then there's that little bit of tear because I wonder where my buddy has gone, or my buddies, and those times that we shared and waking up with the sun on the river and sun, 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 or waking up in the mountains and sun, 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 and missing, wishing, that I could do that again. And I'm so old now, I don't know if I could make the trip. But sun, 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 I can remember it when I sing that song and watch the sun come up, even though I can't walk the mountain trails like I used to could. Sun, sun, sun. So we sing that positive in there. And even though, there might be a little bit of mourning, the other word in our voices. So there's both at the same time. But for me, I've stressed the positive. Yes, bittersweet memories. Yep, bittersweet. That's a good one. It ain't gonna for anything more than what it has. Don't let it make you ill. No, it doesn't do that. Did I just get cut off? I don't know. Yep, and you can still get some fresh stuff and try again. Yep, I can't cut you off. You need to get my hands on some fresh. But anyway, so with all of the above, one of our biggest things is understanding. Wait, I know that my frequency matters. Not only when I speak to some people, but also when I listen to some people. Can I talk in nutmeg? Oh, if you've never tried it, take a little bit and stir it up in your coffee or your tea. Put a little sugar. Honey will really get it in your system fast. Don't plan on going anywhere, but don't overdo it. Just put a little in, put a half a teaspoon in something and give it a try. Because if you want a little buzz and don't have to go far, it'll give you one. And I'm not saying it's good or bad, but because I did it at least twice, and I think three times when I was in jail. It was hard for us to get it and save it, and it was hard for us to steal it. Okay, um, but Lord have mercy, it wasn't the fact that I did it, but it always ended up there was some left over that me and what's his name, Larry, the Cajun. Oh man, he could cook, some bitch. But he would, come on, no, come on, David. Yeah, you share with me. You get it here, you take him out. And he'd shove this food in my mouth, and it was nasty. And woo wee! I didn't drink coffee back then, so it was all about tea. And we had plenty of tea because we made tea in great big huge, containers. But 3 teaspoons. No, 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 no. Barnett, that's it, was having trouble remembering. Gonna wash it down with some bay leaf tea. Ooh, yuck. Kind of, what kind of high was it? It's trippy with some, it'll make your heart race. Sort of like an amphetamine where it'll pick you up and it doesn't throw you back unless you take too much. And then it'll throw you back in the chair, but your brain won't shut up. I mean, it'll be like boo. It's interesting. I think everybody ought to try it at least once. Especially if you're into like doing drugs or highs or whatever. I think everybody ought to try nutmeg at least once. And I don't mean overdosing it like we did back in jail, because that was way early in my days. I mean, I hadn't actually done a lot of tripping. Yeah, about 50 times, I guess, by the time I was in jail. Um, you know, but when I got out of jail, that's when I bought 2 or 3 hundred of the blotter at a time. And when I really learned how to, find mushrooms and so forth, and how to dry them better. And, which was, I got busted in 78. And when by the time 80 rolled around and through the 80s, and then when I bought this place, and then I knew of all the places around here where there were cow fields, and I knew how to pick them, and so that I could go back to the same stations. You always just pluck the top off. You never take the stem. Never take the stem. Don't care what kind of mushroom it is. Don't take the stem unless you need the stem. And then you pinch the stem off and leave that little bit of fungus at the bottom. Why? Because that fungus will generate another mushroom. I've seen it happen too many times. If you pull the mushroom out and you pull the fungus out with it, wherever it's coming from, but if you leave the butt of the mushroom in whatever medium it's in, there's a good chance a mushroom will come out of the fungus that was growing right there. But too many people just pull the whole damn thing. No, if you want, because the best part of the mushroom is what? The top. So you put two fingers between here's the stem. You put, like here's the stem here. Let me see if I can do this. This being the mushroom, you put your fingers like this and then pull up and you separate the top of the mushroom and leave the stem because you want the top. The stems, yeah, but you want the tops mostly. The stems are okay, but if you're trying to cultivate them and you want more to grow, then just pull the tops and leave the stem there. And then go back later on, and there's you've got a 50-50, sometimes more like 65% chance of having another mushroom grow out of that fungus at the bottom from the bottom of the stem you just left versus pulling the whole thing out. You've got almost zero chance of a mushroom coming up because you have pulled that that fungus material. Oh, well, you need spores. Well, you need spores to get it started, but there've been too many times. I'm I'm telling you, I've worked several fields, and always go back to where you left the fungus. And the mushrooms might be little tiny ones, but they might be potent as hell, but you would still get mushrooms. But if you pulled them out, yeah, there went your chances. So, but anyway, I've learned a thing or two in my 71 years, and what I learned is by observation. Don't do that. Why? Because, you lessen your chances. So when I started picking just the tops and then going back around to the same areas, I had a 10-acre field that I was right beside my house. And so, I would pull one and leave another, pull one, leave another. Some of them grew up underneath oak trees, some of them um, up underneath um, some pecan trees. I just dumped that bowl out. I guess it's time to say good morning. Wonder how this good Gucci smokes gonna have to lock up my spice cabinet. Don't try smoking it. Don't be that stupid. Just take a little bit and like a half a teaspoon. Don't be stupid. I talked about how much we did and how crazy it made us. At 3 in the morning I was like putting a foot on the floor going, oh, stop the world from going around. Then I had to get up at 6. So, but that was because we were taking tablespoons full, not teaspoons. Don't do a tablespoon. No. Maybe a level teaspoon. Keep it mild. It'll be enough. So learn to oscillate, my friends. We can oscillate together, and that's what we do because we are each members of the League of Like Minded Beings, and that means we have learned to oscillate together. That means we have learned to share our frequencies. That means we have learned to be able to do it, in however that we do it. So, but but that's just it. We are doing it. And so, me, because it's my channel, and I'm the catalyst, and I try to be the right frequency so that we can share it and then discuss it and modulate in our obscure ways to hear the right, as Mark says, to hear the right Now 234 Stove was about to ask if you smoked your bowl yet. Good night, sweetheart. Good night, sweetheart. It's time to go. Do 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 do. Ba 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 ba. Good night, sweetheart. It's time to go. The modulation, right? So, thank you all. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. I have been your humble host, Hawkeye Two Feathers. And I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and many blessings in the universe. And when you laugh and smile, as most of us know, you can change that modulation, you can change that frequency, and you can really get yourself going into um, out of the doldrums. But remember them low frequencies, like the elephant, and don't forget them. Also, I think it's the lions can do it too. They can rumble with their throats, and you can hear them for a long way off. Having been in the swamps, you can hear them big gators when they blow, and when they do big bullfrogs, bro. It's a low frequency, but still it's there. So there are a lot of things in nature that ain't necessarily evil. One could say that huge alligators are evil, but they're not. They're just huge alligators. you know, they're not necessarily either evil. They're just big alligators. So and it is what it is, right? So one could say that whales are bad because they're huge. Well, they're not. They're just huge, and they're whales. So, but the whale song, along with like the dolphin. So, but anyway, I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings in the universe and from the universe, and that are listen to whale song and listen, to what the elephant might be saying, and other the hippos do it, I believe. So them low frequencies, they ain't evil. There's messages there. The Schumann resonance is like 7.8, which is a low frequency considering. So, anyway, I will continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe, because it's out there and we're all learning. There are things that I have forgotten I need to relearn. So I was thinking whale song when you mentioned the elephants. See, there's a synchronicity right there, right, Michelle? So we prove it to ourselves all the time, especially here and with each other. We'll have the same thought, a fraction of a second, difference, or and so we all know better, because we can we might not know exactly how it works, and that's not the important thing. The important thing is that we keep practicing, and that we believe that we will get better at it as we practice. and other beings and other people will learn to accept it and believe and believe and believe that they can do it as well, to find these synchronicities, to find the right oscillations so that they can resonate with, I want to say with the right folk, you know, because negative energy or bad vibes or whatever, we the folks just go away. They don't like to hang out with us. So just by being positive and staying in this, um, but other folks, it takes them a while, or maybe they don't ever find it at all, of some place that they can, find the right resonance that resonates with them. So we right with you, Mark and Chloe and everybody. So I appreciate our time together. Yep, me too. They made me get up and do this evening, which I didn't put up much of a fight. And I was curious about, this oscillation thing. And the more they presented it to me, the more I thought, and and I can understand now, how really, really, really important it is, and just the idea, you just go, wait a minute, well, my day is just being mucked up. This just, so I would say, well, wait, so check your modulation, check your oscillation. Are you oscillating too high, or are your vibrations too weird? Then find something, like, hey, maybe you tap your foot to a drum. Maybe you put yourself back into the right sync, so the way it's sort of like, my heart issue where my heart goes off and racing. Well, it does so all on its own because I have a heart condition now. But one thing I can do is continue to go, wait a minute, calm down, don't go off racing, stay calm. Hey, do find a rhythm, find that right modulation, that right oscillation to get the heart rhythm and to slow it down, and to keep it from racing off. And where's my pill bottle, and make sure you keep that modulation down because it's real and important now. It was important before, but it's really important now. So, I continue to learn how to modulate and to make sure that my heart's obs- uh, uh, um, oscillations don't go overboard. It's very important on so many levels. And so, my friends, be smart. I wish somebody had taught me some of this back a few years. My heart might not be in such a bad condition, but at least I'm here. I got to check my monitor. It's about time to take this thing off and recharge the batteries. But until next time, tomorrow night probably I go live with Robert again, and I saw on my YouTube it says, warning, Native American myths and legends on 5, 9/5, 23. And I went, holy crap. And I looked down, it was 9/5. And I was like, oh no, and that means I missed it. Holy crap. Wait a minute. Oh, wait, because it was after 12. I almost crapped myself. I thought I'd missed our show. It's tonight. Okay, my friends, please be sweet. Keep it between the ditches. TTF and Ta Ta for now from South Georgia, Southwest Georgia, I might add. And, thank you all. I love you. And thank you for all your good energy. And When things get weird, and do a little ween, do a little dance, and we'll make it. So until next time.